radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, don't freak out. I'm here. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, September 28th, 272 days into the new year, 96 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world. All across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your also humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Let's go. Got a big night in front of us because tonight we have very special guests, and the big man himself, Race Hobbs, is back on the show. It's been a while. Since Racey's been with us. Looking forward to what's about to happen here. Tomorrow's another Fader night, by the way, with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom, followed by open lines all night long. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. Just maybe we'll take some calls with Racy. You know, that's up to Racy. You know, he's the shot caller. Racy. Race Hobbs tonight. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do, at JChurchRadio. Very simple. Okay? Do that. And come and hang out with all of us over on Twitter, because we bust through the fans here, the audience, the Fadernauts. They'll bust through 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 tweets and tonight during the show, and we've got Race Hobbs here. So I don't have any idea what's about to happen in the sandbox tonight, but we love our Racy. So he is here, and more on that in just a bit. You can email throughout the show. You know what to do. Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Simple, right? Well, if you make it good, it'll get past who it needs to get past. It'll make its way into here, and then I'll get distracted, and I'll read it. And because it made it into here, that means it's pretty good. And then usually it's a question, you know, to ask the guest. And then I'll do that. But once in a while, it's a pretty smart, witty, well done, well written, you know, concise, you know, well thought out piece of literature. And I'll write back. And I love those kind of emails. So there you go. Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Okay. Any questions or comments during the show tonight? Hashtag F2BQ. That is what you want to do. That is Fade to Black questions. And I'm looking over here, and now 3 times in a row, it happened right before the show, TweetDeck crashed. It's weird, and it's a Chrome thing. Man, I just wish Chrome and Google and Microsoft would just shake hands, man, and put this to bed so we could just enjoy the internet for what it is. These guys just pee on each other a little bit too much. All right, let's go. Right now, check out all of our sponsors. Support the show by supporting the sponsors, by helping yourself. That's all you got to do. Life Change Tea. Go right now. Click on the banners, jimmychurchradio.com. It's right there. Forgetthetea.com. And then all you got to do is mention Jimmy when you order, either on the phone or online. You're going to get free shipping. Go to the specials page. That's where it all exists. Go there. Find something. Ronnie's got one of the best companies in the world. Go and get it done. And you're going to get free shipping just because you're a Fade or Not. Also, the Studio Dome Fade or Not special. It is a stereo, high-fidelity stereo system in a hard-shell case. Bluetooth, TWS, true wireless stereo technology. The entire thing out the door, $129. No tax, no nothing. Promo code JCRTWS. It's going to get you 60% off the normal price of $399. And of course, you're a Fade or Not. You're going to get free shipping. $129 all in. Best deal on the net. Go Beckley Tepe. That's all you need to know. Let's get this show cracking. Today, Mira Sorvino is 49. Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow today. Or is that yesterday? Or is that today? I don't know. Is Gwyneth 44 today? Was that yesterday? I can't even remember now. I don't even know why I know these things. Our dead guy's birthday today is, though, Ben E. King. 1938 to 2015, died at the age of 76. Just died of old age. His hit songs included, and this is what is amazing when it comes to Ben E. King, Stand By Me, This Magic Moment, his ballad, Spanish Harlem. Huh? That's what I'm talking about. They're some of the greatest songs ever recorded. Stand By Me is number 25 on the RIAA, that's the Recording Institute Association of America, list of songs of the century. Number 25. And he was, of course, one of the principal lead singers of the Drifters. Notably, he sang the lead vocals of their biggest hit, which was Save the Last Dance for Me. Benny King. Happy birthday. All right. On this day in history in 1991, Miles Davis died at the age of 65 right here in Los Angeles, California. Probably the greatest musician, if not our generation of all time, ever, Miles Davis. All right. Fade or fact. Are you ready for this? I love you guys. This is why I do this for you. A 2012 survey found that 46% of American adults believe the world is less than 10,000 years old. Welcome to the United States of America. Obviously, those surveyed didn't listen to this show. Tonight, very special guest, Race Hobbs is here with us. The one and only, the guy, KGRA, the planet, Race Hobbs, here. I wonder if Race drinks as much French roast as I do during the show. I just don't think so. Maybe. He's got his family, by the way. Okay, I'm going to throw Race under the table and under the bus because I know he's listening to me right now, getting ready for the show, right? Getting all jacked up. I get that. Race, his family owns a coffee roasting company. They do, and it's a big one. And they don't send me nothing. They don't send me nothing. Where's my Fade to Black roast? You would think that Race would just hook a brother up. He'd be like, Jimmy, you get Jack. I got to talk like Race. Jimmy, I'm going to hook you up. But no, I don't have no Fade to Black roast here. They own Starbucks, and a lot of people don't know that. All right. Race Hobbs is here tonight. Tomorrow night, Fader night. John Rappaport, open lines all night long. Now, I'm a little hot. I'm a little bothered. I'm a little messed up right now because I'm disappointed in the Taliban. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with ISIS. I'm disappointed with Al-Qaeda. They've let me down. They have. I'm fully disappointed in what some of these terrorist groups are doing today. And the Taliban and their leaders, they followed the presidential debate the other night, and they watched it closely. But they were upset because they didn't hear anything on Afghanistan. So they get a hold of their media consultants, their agents, and their spokesman, and they make an announcement today. I'm not kidding. And they said that they were not impressed by Republican candidate Donald Trump, who they considered non-serious about Afghanistan. They felt let down, and they were bummed out. And they went on to say today that they watched the Monday's debate from a secret location in Afghanistan. Ooh, secret. But they were upset because neither Trump or Hillary talked about their intentions for the Taliban. And this is according to their media spokesman, Zabihullah Mujahid. Yeah, from Hollywood, by the way. Now, he went on to say that he didn't like Trump and that he was upset because he wasn't representing the Taliban. And he was bummed out about that. But he did have some nice things to say about Hillary. And I'm quoting here. Zabihullah said, "Man, she's kind of hot." And then he went on to say, she would look really good in a burqa. And then ended with this: maybe she could get us on CNN. End quote. Now, I got to say here, people, I miss the good old days when an OG terrorist or group wanted to be secret, wanted to remain hidden, private, ghost-like, nightmarish, right? And if you think about it, that's what scared the crap out of all of us. We didn't know anything. We didn't know nothing. We didn't know who they were, where they were, what they were going to do next. Mysterious. That is a terrorist. Remember Carlos the Jackal? Remember that? Remember Carlos the Jackal? Remember the movie, the original, The Day of the Jackal? Well, even the Bruce Willis one, the Jackal, that one kind of qualifies. Bruce did his best. But that's what was scary. The crazy, unseen madmen or mad people with a mission. What was the movie with see, I do all of this improv, everybody. This is off the top of my head. I'm trying to think something on any Sunday. The one with blowing up at the Super Bowl, the balloon with the boat with the nails in it. Scary movie because you don't know anything about these people. That's a real terrorist. I'm trying to think of that movie's name. Can picture all of it. Scared me. The movie scared me. But today, I mean, it used to be this faceless thing, with a mission where they would do their thing and disappear. But they did it all, to come back and do it again and surprise you up out of nowhere. And after they did their thing, there were no videos, Facebook posts, Twitter hashtags, website updates. No, you want to remain mysterious because that is terror. For real. You know who really scared me? You know who scared the crap out of me? Ted Kaczynski. Think about it. Ted Kaczynski had us between 1978 and 1995 freaked out. We didn't know anything. Dude engaged in a nationwide bombing campaign against people apparently that were connected to modern technology. How frightening is that? Planting or mailing all of these homemade bombs that were made of wood. Dude, that is scary. Ultimately, he killed 3 people, injured 23. But he was underground, and we didn't know anything. We had that drawing of him. That's a terrorist. As a Harvard undergraduate, he was among 22 students who were research subjects in an ethically questionable experiment conducted by psychology professor Henry Murray from 1959 until early 1962. That's a dude you need to be scared of. That's a dude who knew how to do it right. That's a terrorist. Remember Ramzi Youssef? That dude. You know why he was so scary? Because we didn't know anything till after he was caught. Ramzi Youssef planned to assassinate Pope John Paul II. He planned to blow up 11 airliners in flight from Asia to the United States. That was his plan, and he was rehearsing and practicing. His goal was to kill 4,000 people and shut down air travel around the world, and then crash another plane into the headquarters of the CIA in Virginia. And the only reason it didn't happen is because he screwed up, and there was a chemical fire in his apartment, which drew the attention of the Philippine National Police. Total luck. That was back in 1995. That scares me. Today's modern terrorists, they don't get it. They don't get it. All they want is coverage on TV, social media. They want followers on Twitter. They want a smoking active Facebook account. They want a YouTube channel with lots of subs. They don't get it. That doesn't scare me. I find that funny. I find it hilarious. I do, because that's not scary. They're missing the point of what a terrorist really is. You can't be an OG gangsta terrorist if you have a MySpace page that you update. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Osama bin Laden stopped being scary when we found out who he was. It doesn't matter if he's in Tora Bora in a cave doing interviews with CNN. That takes the mystery out of nobody cared. At that point, he was a non-issue. He should have stayed underground. Posting on Twitter takes away from the mystique. It's the mystery of who you are that will scare us. But somewhere in the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, somebody stopped going to terrorist school. They stopped reading the books, following history. And if you're going to continue the tradition of being a great terrorist, you need to learn from those in the past. What made them scary? Think about it. Letters from nowhere. Letters from nowhere with a message in code. That's scary. Dude, that is scary. If ISIS today or Al Qaeda, pick one of these groups, Al Nusra Front, right? that are so anxious to be interviewed by Katie Couric, right? They want Bill Maher to talk about them. It doesn't work that way. Stay underground, man. Write that mystery letter in code and send it to the New York Times without a return address and do some crazy threat. That freaks people out. Remember the Zodiac Killer? Remember that? Remember that dude? That is terror. The Zodiac Killer, who's probably been dead for years now, still freaks the crap out of me. He did it right. And if you think about it, dude went to terrorist school. He stayed underground. Never got caught. Coded letters. Think about that. Today, it's a totally different game. It's like somebody has completely missed the point and is not respecting the terrorists that came before. Because we know who ISIS is. We know who Al-Qaeda is. We know who the Al-Nusra Front is. We send them guns. We know where they're at. We got their address. That isn't scary. If we know where you are, it's no big deal. Flying recruits in and out of the Middle East, it's not a secret, dudes. It's not a secret. This is the electronic age. Following the electronic path of the internet, plane tickets, the scanning of a passport, postings, videos, Facebook chats that you're doing with your bras, email, chat rooms, messaging. Dudes, all of that is easy and visible. And it's not what an OG gangsta terrorist would do. Listen to me. Listen to me. People, don't be scared of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and any of these other groups today. Don't. It's not scary. There's nothing to be scared of. You know where they're hiding. They don't scare anybody. It's today what the media is calling terrorism isn't terrorism. It's a issue that the world is dealing with. It's not terrorism. It's not a problem or a nightmare that keeps you awake, not some scary thing. It's a challenge to us. That's all it is. A real OG terrorist doesn't have an agent, doesn't have an attorney, doesn't have a publicist, a life coach, or a media consultant. No Instagram allowed, people. Carlos the Jackal, Ramsey Youssef, and old Ted would agree with me right now. It just doesn't work that way. That's it. Game over with all of this. I'm so done. One of the things that I know that you have noticed on this show, and I've done this consciously and unconsciously, I just don't care anymore. I don't report on it. There isn't anything to talk about. There just quite simply isn't. There's nothing here. There's no news here. And that is what is frustrating these so-called terrorists, these modern versions, incarnations. It's morphed into this. All they want is likes on their Facebook page. They want subs on their YouTube account. They want followers on Twitter, followers and likes on Instagram. What is going on here? What is next? Terrorist trading cards? They're going to get upset when they don't get, in the next bubble pack? So don't be scared. Don't listen to the news. The media is trying to tell you something that isn't actually real. Something that you don't know about, something that you can't see, something that you can't touch. That's terror to you and your family. Everything else we can deal with. It's not a problem. It's just a challenge. It's just an issue, and it's going to get dealt with. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, Race Hobbs is here. Now, Race, I want to let everybody know, Race, especially back in the old days, a couple of years ago, Race and I would spend hours on the phone. Any subject. Didn't matter if it was car racing, UFOs, ghosts, the election, Republicans, Democrats, trade agreements, or breakfast cereal, or the joys of country gravy and chicken fried steak. We can talk forever. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do a nice round table of all things that concern us. Because this is family that's going to sit down and talk tonight. You are part of that family. Sit down and listen to what Race has to say. And I'm going to get in a little bit myself, too, as well. But we haven't had Race on the show in a long time. Tonight's the night. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And when I come back, the one and only Race Hobbs is going to be here. And he better be wearing his Fade to Black shirt. He better be posting something with that Fade to Black size 5. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'm going to hit this coffee and get ready for Race. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletzky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fader-Knots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. That's right. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Race Hobbs at Race Hobbs. Figure that one out. It's tough, but it's already up there on Twitter. You know what to do. Tonight, Racy is here. He's back. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom, followed by open lines all night long. And you know what the call-in number is. It is 323-825-5045. Maybe Racy will let you call in tonight. Race has years of terrestrial radio experience and started out in FM radio. Well, that's his story. Maybe I'll get some of that out of him tonight. I think he said he was broadcasting at the age of 5. That's where he got those pipes. And pretty soon he found himself doing drive time radio for the citizens of the Deep South right here in the USA. With his interest in the UFO subject and a background as a field investigator for MUFON, he went on to create the Global Radio Alliance, which is now known as KGRA, The Planet. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, our good friend, Race Hobbs. Racy, good evening.
Thank you for having me, Jimmy. It's always a pleasure and an honor, my man.
Man, you got the pipes, dude.
No, now let's not go there.
You got the pipes.
No. You make all the big money with the voice, not me.
Man, let's see who can.
Jimmy.
Let's start singing some Barry White tunes right now.
I got something for you.
How you doing, man? You wearing your Fade to Black shirt?
I am. You know it.
I'm just making sure.
All day long. I've been, fadering out.
Race, welcome back to the program, my friend. And what I would like to do tonight is I'm gonna dance around a few different subjects and things that sometimes I don't actually discuss on the show, but also with my guests, I'm usually not that talkative, right? I can't. I'm a host, but you and I engage. And I think the audience is going to enjoy just kicking back, watching a couple of guys that have opinions, express themselves.
I couldn't agree with this format anymore because I am there. I'm just going to make it known here on the airwaves. There was no preparation for this show. We didn't have any long 2 or 3 hour calls or email exchanges or any of that. I don't know what you're going to ask me. You don't know what I'm going to tell you. And, let's just do this like one of our old phone calls.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so let's do just that. Did you listen to my little opening rant on the show?
I tuned in. I was on with Rosemary Ellen Guiley producing her show. And at the close of the show, when I was getting you on the air on KGRA syndication, I didn't make it in till about 4.5 minutes in the show before I was able to release Ken Gerhard and Rosemary. So I think it was somewhere where you were talking about I own Starbucks or my family did or something. We got to get that clear somewhere in the show. I do not own or have any family that owns Starbucks. But I did love, I'll tell you where I came in. I know where it was. You were talking about terrorists and how they used to be anonymous. You didn't know. And I'm still, look, I can't even maintain because it's so funny. That's one of the things that I love about your program, dude. You know, I'm just going along, and then all of a sudden you bust a whole side of ribs out of me, and I start laughing, and I completely derail from what I'm doing.
Well, and that's my point. I want to kind of start there. The Anonymous, right? The group Anonymous, they do it right.
Yeah, I think so.
Nobody knows who they are, right? That's scary. And they don't,
giving us a title, and that's just about all they've done.
Right. And they do it right. And terrorism today isn't what it used to be. I mean, terrorism used to be scary, right? It was scary. And that was part of causing terror. I mean, the goal was to cause terror and to scare people. You know, terrorists today want to be in the media. You know, it's like ego has come into play into terrorism, and it's taken the terror out of terrorism, and they just don't get it. They've turned it into a problem, a challenge, an issue. That's what they are, but they're not terrorists, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you scared of ISIS?
Well, they impose a lot of death on a lot of innocent people, and for that I'm afraid. But I'm not afraid sitting where I am right here and now.
Right. Well, if you know who they are and you know where they are,
you couldn't have made a better point, Jimmy.
Right.
I mean, I've not heard it put that way by anyone else, and when I heard it, I was laughing, but it's a good point. It is an absolutely good point. When I grew up in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. You didn't know who these cats were until something bad had already happened.
Right. And then they would disappear.
Yeah.
Right. Like cockroaches in the night. Right.
I mean, the IRA might have been pushing that, a little bit, but, they did some bombing and some terrorist activity, and we knew who they were, and we came to know what their intentions were and their mission was and all of that. But ISIS is a whole different kettle of fish. They've really used social media to try to terrorize people, and they have terrorized people, and they've murdered a lot of innocent people.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about at some point tonight was this world has too much murder in it. Just too much.
Well, I'll throw something else out at you. Al-Qaeda. Do they scare you? No.
Are they still around?
Right. That's my point. Right. I mean, it's because we know who they are, where they are, what they're doing. We got their email address. How is that? At least with the IRA, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit. You can't run on an island, right? Okay. No. So we know that they were somewhere, in Ireland. Right? But they took great care in running in the underground and being terrorist.
Yeah.
And I need to be polite here with what I am saying, but the terrorists of today, they don't respect what the terrorists that came before them. They don't. I mean,
isn't that the trend of the world, Jimmy? I mean, when you think about it, these kids today don't care where we came from.
Yeah, so you're saying the Kardashians ruined it for all the good terrorists out there?
No, I wouldn't give them that much credit. I love the girls, and I wish them all the best, but I just don't see them as entertainers at all. They just have maybe an interesting life that they live to an extent, but
all they want
this model stuff. They're entrepreneurs. They do hard work, and they do work hard, but I just don't think that it's at the level of where, like a Fred Astaire, where I came from, or a Michael Jackson, or, it just, they don't measure up. But I just do think that the kids today, and a big part of, where we are in this world is a direct result of parents trying to rush to catch up with their kids. And somewhere down the road, there were children raising children. People used to have to grow up a lot earlier than they do today. Some men were men at 15 years old, 14 years old, just 100 years ago.
Well, that's true, and I guess what I'm saying is the terrorists today are trying to get, if the Kardashians can stay in the media, and I need as many Twitter followers as this guy. I need to, they're missing the
terrorism.
point. Right.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. It does not scare me. I could care less how many, Facebook likes a terrorist group has. I find that hysterical that they have totally missed the point. You're supposed to be invisible. Right?
That is so funny. It is still to me.
It is funny, man. That's my point. Yeah. They just don't get. You're not scaring the crap out of people with an Instagram account. It doesn't work that way, man.
That's true.
That's
true. But there are a lot of ways where I have to be very careful with what I'm going to say. Very, very careful with my word selection. But there are a lot of ways you can terrorize people. And there's a lot of ways that you can be manipulated. And I just feel like these so-called terrorist groups or, nation threats are puppets for the elite.
Yeah, you're going to have to be careful with those words. That's exactly what's going on, certainly.
Well, I'd hate to drive an audit to Fade to Black or these fusion centers around us are active. They're up and running 120% tonight. So.
Yeah, well, I'll send my people over at National Tax Experts your way.
Yeah, you know what? I may need him. I may have to call my old friend Bill and tell him you're fired. We're holding a much bigger tank of water now.
Yeah, and that is I've thought about that. You know what I did the other day? I don't know if you caught this, but I get a list. Somebody emails me some stuff, and I get it, and it was the list of the 28 domains, only 28 that are owned by North Korea. Now, so I'm looking at the 28, that's it, 28 internet accounts are held by North Korea. So I get the list, and it was leaked out 2 or 3 days ago. And I get the list, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, I really want to go to one of these websites, right? These North Korean websites. I've got to do it. And I'm just wondering. So I look at the list, and I find this one. It's called friend.com.ks, right? Or KP, whatever it is, their 2-letter thing. And my hands are shaking. I'm like, dude, just do it. Screw it. So I go, and I hit translate on the page, and I'm looking at a North Korean website called friend.com, right? And as I'm reading it, I went, wait a minute. North Korea now knows me. Right? Because I can tell you right now, I'm the only guy on that website in the world, right? Nobody knows this website exists. And I probably lit up so many different pieces of sensor software that they're running over there and zoned right in on Burbank, California. We're probably looking, for the bunker. And I'm like, man, and that lasted about 10 seconds. And I backed off of it. And that's another part of what freaks me out here, about saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. But out there doing what I did with North Korea, now do I have a target on my back? Do I really want to invite that? And that's why I just backed off the website after about 10 seconds because I don't need it. We have enough issues with what you and I speak about and what your network does every single day out there poking the eye of the big bear.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to call it censoring. I mean, that's why I started the KGRA. That's why me and Warren and Jason and Royce and Lauren, we all got together and did what we did, in 2012. It was to get away from that and to keep free media alive because mainstream is bought and paid for.
Yes.
And so, you have to assume, you have to surmise that yeah, they're going to watch what you're doing. They're going to pay attention to what you're doing, because UFOs, which specifically for me is what I've been involved in, and in the side of alternative talk radio, we do paranormal and encrypted and all of that other stuff, of course, but I really think that ETs and UFOs are a national security issue. And those of us who investigate and research this stuff, you never know when some suit is going to be knocking at your door because of some case you investigated yesterday or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, or, you never know when some farmer is going to, pick up your card from somebody and say, this thing landed in my field back here. Can you come take a look at it?
Right.
And you go and you take a look at it and you ascertain real quick that, this is not, this is not normal stuff here. And, you start to take steps. And like I said, you never know who's going to come calling. And so, yes, this is a national security issue. And I think that if they weren't watching and listening to us, we'd pretty much be what we say here in the South, pissing in the wind.
Right.
So we can just go ahead and equate that's the, that's where we're at in this system. We are we're sort of a fresh version on an old idea, and we keep it going and we keep it real. And that's what this is all about. And it does put us at a certain, in a certain category of risk. I fully knew that. We all did, getting involved in this. And if you didn't and you're trying to do it, you better figure out real quick, that, you're going to be made public. And if something really big comes your way, you could be made real public.
Well, which kind of goes back to the point that you made a few minutes ago, which is the media itself, the media as a whole, is run by a very few select people. That's it. And those are not only large corporate entities, but when you go to the top and you continue up the chain, it's just money that drives everything. And so what is driving the money? Is it war? Is it politics? Is it international stuff? Is it national? Is it the trade of commodities and dollars and gold and oil? It's certainly all of that. But as you go up and you go to the top of the pyramid, it's just a select few that are making those decisions. And those select few that are controlling the money control the media. And so it is in their best interest to manipulate what we hear. And if that involves the way that ISIS is dealt with, or Al-Qaeda, or terrorism, and that influences the ebb and flow of dollars, then there's your answer. And so when we look at something like the way that ISIS is represented in the media, and the media is saying that they are a terrorist organization and calling them terrorists when they are not, they're a problem in the Middle East that is filtered into different countries, but it's certainly not what we would call terrorism. Right. And that's, we need to stop and recognize what's really going on here. We're being scared. They're trying to influence us with fear. What they don't get is ISIS is not a scary thing, but they're doing their best to make them scary. And it's my job, I swear, Race, it's my job to just calm those fears out there and let them really know what ISIS is. That's not a terrorist. Ted Kaczynski nearly stopped a country. One man in a cabin, in Montana, had us for 20 years freaking out. That's a terrorist, and he did it right. I'll never forget. And even though I've told this story a few times on the air, I need to have everybody recognize exactly what terrorism is. The problems that we have in the airlines today the security checkpoints and the TSA and the searching of baggage and all of that, that's not because of 9/11. That's not because of ISIS. That's not because of shoe bombers and underwear bombers. That's not it. Ted Kaczynski started that. I was a businessman traveling the United States, getting on a plane nearly every day of the week, flying around the United States for years. And I knew every airport. I knew everybody. I knew everything. I knew what was going on. And then one day, the TSA stepped in, and it was because of Ted Kaczynski. And they were trying to find this guy. And all of a sudden, they're searching luggage. Now we've got lines. Now we've got security issues. And it was hell to get on to a plane. It would take you hours. And it was one day it was freedom on the airlines, and the next day it wasn't, and it's never been the same since. That's a terrorist. And we didn't know. All we had was that drawing. You remember the drawing with him and his sunglasses and the hoodie?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a terrorist, man. And he lived in a...
Sort of like that D.B. Cooper one.
Yes. Exactly right. And this was a single guy living in a one-room shack in Montana that had the country wrapped up. That's somebody you need to be scared of, because you don't know you don't know anything about this guy. You know, nothing. And that's my point. So there's no reason to be scared of ISIS. You know where they are. You know exactly where they are. You can send them a letter if you want. You know what I mean?
I do. And I agree with you 100%. You know, honestly, I just see them as a political pawn for, the elites. Mm-hmm. That's just the way that I see it. Mm-hmm. Because I really feel like we could have polished and waxed these jackasses a long time ago.
That's right.
If they were a real threat. Now you've got mainstream media preaching that Assad is, he's bombing hospitals and kids and women and all this stuff. And he may be. But our colleague Richard Dolan believes that there is no rebel resistance. There's no real reality, no real proof that there actually is a real formidable rebel resistance that we are helping. We're financing them, we're giving them ammunition and weapons and that kind of thing to fight the Assad regime, and that it's ISIS that has hijacked this republic regime that had started out to do this, but have been dissolved and really have had ISIS and Hezbollah take over this fight and this, turned it into this caliphate and all of this. So bottom line, in my opinion, if you know that much about them, I don't think you could actually put the terrorist title to them. I just don't. I think they're radicals, but I wouldn't call them terrorists, because we do know everything about them and what they're doing, and they're all out in the wide open. They are an independent army, they're like Luxembourg. You know what I mean? They just govern themselves and they do what they want where they're allowed to do it. And when I used to see in the media, and I know we're up against a break here, but I'll be real quick. When I used to see in the media, Jimmy, where there were columns, and I'm talking 60, 80, 100 trucks with anti-aircraft guns on the back of them, and Hummers that were American built that we left over there and that Iraq used and they took. When I'm like, how do, they've got these drones and they've got satellite and they can see all this stuff in real time. Why are they not just strafing that road?
Right.
Wiping out that whole column
right now. That's exactly my point. And to your point, no self-respecting OG terrorist has got a salesman at Toyota. It just doesn't work that way, man. No. You got a Toyota salesman's business card in your pocket because you just bought 80 pickup trucks. That is not what a terrorist make. And I need to drive that home with everybody. If you stop and think about it, if the only way to get the Senate and Congress to write checks is you got to have a war. you've got to have an issue. You can't have any good feeling issues on the table and get a check written. You're going to go through bureaucracy, and it's going to last. It doesn't work that way. But if you want to keep the money machine rolling, have an enemy. And what a better enemy than somebody that is not even there, that you can never defeat and you can always have an excuse for. And if that isn't an example of the cabal, Illuminati, shadow government, backroom, cigar chomping, monsters, that's exactly what is going on and playing out here. And everybody really, really needs to understand that. This is the conspiracy of conspiracies, and it's playing out in front of us in real time. This thing has gone on now for 30 years, 25 years, 30 years. We did the second invasion in 2003. This is 2016 with no end in sight. And, the people that are manufacturing those tanks and those transport vehicles and the bullets and the clothes and the food and the communication equipment and the bombs and the missiles couldn't be happier. They couldn't. General Dynamics just signed their biggest contract ever in the history of the company with Saudi Arabia. Why? Because Saudi Arabia is fighting in Yemen. And that's a company here in the United States. And it's just, they couldn't be happier at General Dynamics. Their stock now is the highest it's ever been in the history of the company. And that's the answer to so many things for everybody out there. If there isn't a conspiracy going on, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, I'll join the ass-kissing league. And that ain't me.
This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Race Hobbs. When we come back after the break, I'm going to talk a little bit of UFOs with Race, but I can't do that without combining a little politics. And how do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you with Race Hobbs right after this break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And you can follow Race at Race Hobbs. Use hashtag F2B. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Race Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
Fade or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
Uncertainty has become the talking point when it comes to financial markets. One thing is becoming certain: safe haven assets. Hard assets are now becoming the choice of informed investors. The most recognized and valued hard asset is gold. The highest performing asset this year is gold. Trust gold to protect and grow your IRA or 401k. Central banks and billionaires are doing the same thing. Choose a more stable asset that has tremendous upside potential. As these uncertain times threaten the markets, your decision to reduce your exposure exposure to these markets before further negative effects to your portfolio would be well timed. Call 1-800-GOLD-IRA to transfer your existing IRA into an actual physical gold and silver IRA. American Bullion is the pioneer of gold IRAs. They handle all the details for you. Call 1-800-GOLD-IRA to get prepared. Start protecting and growing your IRA and 401k before the next crash. American Bullion. 1-800-GOLD-IRA.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Race Hobbs, the fearless leader of the Global Radio Alliance, KGRA, The Planet. And Race, we all know that Hillary is a shape-shifting reptilian. I mean, that's a given. What about Trump? He's reptile-like.
He's more turtle-like, I think.
More turtle-like because of his neck? Is it his neck?
What neck? He's like me. He doesn't really have much of one, does he?
What we know that Hillary wants to have us believe that she has a solid position on UFOs, and she's taken that position. But let's say that Armageddon comes and Trump gets elected. What's that going to do for the UFO agenda?
Nothing. I'll just say nothing. I really don't think it's going to make any difference. I've come to the conclusion that if we're waiting on the government to tell us anything about it, Jimmy, we're going to hear it from the dirt. We're going to hear it from under the dirt.
I would have thought, and I'm not trying to light a fire where there isn't one, but the way that Trump has aligned himself with the extreme far right, and some of those, I'm going to tread lightly here, but some of those other radio hosts and bloggers and website running organizations, without naming names, that he would also recognize that there's a UFO agenda out there too as well, and he could tap into that. And I really thought it was possible that it could go in that direction, and he would also, follow Hillary's lead there. But he hasn't, and I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, well, this is a dicey time, isn't it, Jimmy? It's I don't know. I don't know. If we're going to talk politics, man, I'm just going to wind up letting my guard down. And when I do, I wind up leaving Facebook.
Right.
That's a whole nother story. And, I know a lot of people want to hear about that, but,
Well, okay. I'll hold your hand through this. It has been my position, and I don't enjoy talking politics. I don't, because
it's a risky deal. I mean,
it's risky because I don't want my audience to hate each other too as well. And I don't want to divide and conquer my audience. What I do want the audience to understand is the conspiracy of politics, because there is something dark running the machine, and it's not what you think that it is. And I had said a year ago, you may remember, but I had said a year ago on this show, I just said this, I was on KABC talk radio this past Saturday, right before Coast. And I said on that show, the Dr. Greg show, that it's something that I recognized a year ago when I looked at everybody that was running. I looked at the two craziest, most unlikely candidates out of the entire bunch, and that was Hillary and Trump. And I said it on the show, you watch, that's who's going to end up running for the White House. And as crazy as that sounded, I came to the conclusion that it was set up that way from the beginning. And if you look at all of the candidates that were there, if this is the best that we can do in this country, then it's not us making these decisions. It's somebody else making these decisions, because these two candidates are not the best that we can do. It's simply not. So what is driving this? There's something in the background pushing this agenda. I don't know who's doing it or why, but here we are today with a divided country. And everybody that is voting in this country that is forced to make a decision knows that they are compromising. They know that. They know that they are just they're just.
Well, we can't say that for Bernie's supporters.
That's what I'm talking about.
To see the picture of him standing in front of a flat screen watching the debates was terribly disheartening.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Yeah,
I never intended on voting for Bernie Sanders, although I will say that 70% of what he said I believed and agreed with. And the part about Bernie that I didn't jive with was a lot of these programs that he intended to implement. I just did not see any way we could pay for it. Not in the situation we're in. We're facing $20 trillion in debt. And the last thing we need to do is enable our citizens with taxpayer funds to further dig us deeper in debt, when we need to be empowering these folks to get well, to get healthy, to get back on their feet, to get back, in the game so that they can make America stronger. In this day and age, I feel like there is a large volume of people, and I say this from experience and what I see in my own life. And again, this city that I'm from doesn't represent the entire country, and many of those who can hear the sound of my voice right now, Jimmy, may not agree, but there is a large portion of people who are taking welfare funds and taxpayer funds through these programs, and they don't need it. They are hustling the system, and they're doing it outright in the light of day with no oversight and not much in the way of any correction on the horizon. And I just don't think that you can expand that program, much like our medical system was expanded and changed and upended, at a time when our economy was, falling apart, the housing crash and the whole bit. It just turned into something that I really think we need to reverse that part of his dialogue and not make people dependent upon the government programs, but more rehabilitate them and help them get better. And, I've been in a situation myself. I mean, I've been fighting problems with my legs, not just one or two, but three. I've got gout, plantar fasciitis, and I've got neuropathy in both legs from the knee down. And I could have very easily began collecting disability payments and Social Security payments years and years ago. Instead, I went another route and tried to supplement my income while my wife supported me, and it worked. And I was able to utilize the talents that I had from my past and to try to find a niche or something that I could do. Just because I can't really walk all that great and can't do construction work and things like that anymore to make a living, you have to diversify. You have to, look at other ways to stay on the positive side of things and with forward momentum, and not, because I got to be honest with you, the saying when you don't use it, you lose it is real. And the farther down the road you get, let's just say, in my opinion, I see a country now, a lot of people use the word divided. I just see a lot of followers. I see a lot of people who have followed a system so long that they've forgotten what it's like to lead. And when you forget how to lead and to do your own thing and to be creative and express your opinions and express tolerance for others instead of hate and anger, this is what you get. And with Clinton and with Trump, it's not a choice for anyone. I don't think any rationally sane firing on that all 8 cylinders, so to speak, a citizen of the United States would pick either one of these as their first choice.
That's right. So
it's like you said, to jump on your words, it is, we're forced to sort of make concessions and to choose the lesser of two evils now. And it's just not, I don't think this is truly the way the system was set up to work.
The onion has gotten so complex when you peel back, and this adage, this montage of peeling back the onion is overused today, but certainly it's exactly what's going on. And if we back up and we look where these problems started with the conspiracy of losing control of our own government, which is exactly what has happened here, comes from the corporate interest. And when Washington changed, which, was probably, I feel it like somewhere in the mid 70s, going into the mid 80s, where the corporate interest started to take over Washington and started to decide and set the policy for the country there. And then you had the media interest started to congeal and pull together, where the independent thinker, the independent journalist that was out there writing for a local newspaper, writing for the LA Times or San Francisco Chronicle or the Memphis, that great paper in Memphis. But anyway, where you had independent journalists doing the writing, and that's where the influences would come from independent thinkers. Now it's a national platform. It's a global platform. And so when you go and this is where it ties together, where you go and you see these polls that are put out in mass media, so that you see it on TV, you see the same polls on the internet, you see it here, you see it there, and you don't know, it's not coming from a local level. Your opinion is being swayed by one mind. One mind. It's like the machine behind at Emerald City, right? It's like one mind is dictating the way that everybody should think. And you don't know who's ahead or behind in polls. You don't know these. You don't know anything. But it's the way that it's been treated, and especially this last 20 years, it's been just that, where you're steering the minds of people, millions and millions at a time.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I don't know how we got here. But certainly the corporate interest and what is controlling the media and what is controlling Washington, hence the world, all at the same time, when people want to back off and go, you know what, I can't hear this anymore. They need to understand and they need to listen, because this radio program is going to tell you the truth. Wolf Blitzer's not going to tell you the truth, ever. It's not, he doesn't care. That's not... He's reading a teleprompter. You know, there's no independent journalism anywhere in this country anymore. And that's really the truth. And that's where this onion, this complex layers of stuff, all just answers with money. It all goes to money. It all points to money. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about today. It's pretty interesting how we have gotten to the point where we are now. I think people are starting to wake up, though. And that's the darkness of the world. I think that people are a little, and it's slow. It's a one step at a time thing. But I think that with the internet being there, independent shows like this and networks like yours that aren't driven by corporate dollars, and the message isn't corporate driven, that people now know that they can come to us for something that's a lot more honest, that isn't driven by somebody's corporate dollars. At least not yet. I don't know what my price is, but everybody's got a price, right?
Well, everybody does. You couldn't have said it better. Everybody has a price, and that price is money. Money is basically one end of a trade-off for us. We are, in my opinion, we are the machine, and we are the ones that have the true power. Without control of us, globalization and these elites would not have a foot to stand on. Not for 1 second. I want to just make it clear. We're talking about slavery. In every sense of the term, we're talking about slavery. And now it's even a sin publicly to question why. And by that, I mean, we are all programmed by this media we're talking about. I can bet my mortgage to any one of the Fadernauts on the other end of this connection that if they turn on Fox, they're going to be hating on Hillary Clinton. If you turn on CNN, they're going to be hating on Donald Trump. It's not the same media I grew up with when I was little, where if you turned on the news, you heard the news. There wasn't a struggle to keep breaking news running 24/7. I remember when news went 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was alive before that ever happened. And I see a lot of kids today, a lot of bright, intelligent kids today saying that they honestly wish that they could live in a world where they didn't have this issue, that they didn't know, or even they wouldn't even understand what it would be like to not have a television in every room and a phone in your pocket at all times, and the technology that we have been driven to create and to possess and keep and use, I think was sold to us in a way that, and I know I'm drifting way far away from where we started, but this technology was created to bring us all closer together. And I just feel like ultimately somehow it has, divided us more than we could have ever imagined, because and again, this is a big part of me leaving, dropping my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. I live in a digital world about 75-80% of each and every day. Okay. And at some point, I have to realize that I'm missing out on some other things. And I mean, essentially, that's what happened. Over the, you remember about a year ago, I was on my back in the hospital with a pancreatitis attack for about 4 or 5 days. Right. Remember when they starved me to death and they would let me swallow my spit?
I do.
You have time to think. You have time to unplug. You have time to ponder a lot of things. And with that little TV up on the wall up there, you kind of scroll through the news. I haven't had cable, cable television in years and years and years. I unplugged from it a long time ago. I had, 400 or 500 channels and I couldn't watch 3 of them.
Right.
But I didn't like what I was seeing. I hear Richard Dolan from time to time talk about, when he's flying and traveling and that kind of thing. It's CNN all over the televisions and the terminals and that sort of thing. And, it's pounded into you. This media that we have today, what is called mainstream media today, is literally pounding the status quo down your throat. Whether you like it or not, you turn one of those news channels on, MSNBC, any of them, and you're going to be pounded with a narrative, and then you're going to hear small little tidbits of news, here, there, and around, until the next shooting, the next bombing, the next arrest, the next cop kills somebody. It's what they pound into the heads of people who are too busy and too upset in their race to stay behind the 8 ball with a clock in their face.
Right.
They have just lost their way, and we have all lost our way. And when I talk about slavery, and when you talk about how we're programmed by the media, the elites have to have the media to bottleneck this. They've got to have the media to control the mind.
And I'm gonna jump in right now because they have taken it to Harvard and Yale level of science when it comes to the manipulation of the mind through the media. And let me say that something very direct. If you go back to something like George Orwell's 1984, you go back to Rowdy Roddy Piper and They Live, right? And the billboards and the media steering the mind, right? Obey. Well, we thought that was hilarious. And there is no way we'll ever get to that point. We're smarter than that. It's fun. It's science fiction. It's cool. We get it. But we'll never get to that point. And it snuck up on us, Race. You are so correct when you say everybody's got a cell phone now. Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody has a smart TV. Everybody has the internet. Everybody's got tablets. It's CNN at every you're at the gas station pumping gas, and you've got a friggin' TV now on the pumps at gas stations, and it's coming at you from all directions. These jumbotron billboards,
on trucks.
It's crazy, but we let it sneak up on us, and then we wonder why we've lost our minds. And when we think, and this is what's crazy, we think we're independent thinkers and we're making up our own minds. That's the craziest thought ever.
No, that's a fantasy that everybody really needs to wake up from. It's interesting, you talk about fuel. I compare people to it. We are the fuel that powers the elite. And if people would wake up to that and they would say no to this propaganda and no to the mainstream media machine and turn it off, and go do real research and real work. Go see these people talk. See if you can get questions in. It's really difficult for me, Jimmy, to put into words the reality of the world that we live in today through my eyes. And I don't want to seem depressive and bring people down. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to the awesome Fadernauts. I'm in the sandbox and seeing so many new faces. The crowd has just grown. And I love all of you, and thank you for your kind comments in the inbox. I really appreciate all of it. But, the truth of the matter is we've traded our freedom for money. We've traded out. We give them work. We give them all of our talents and all of our abilities because it's in our DNA to work. We know automatically when we come out of the womb, it's in our programming that we're going to have to work to survive. And cleverly, people have found ways to not do it, and that is a drag on the people who are already uplifting the war machine, uplifting the corporations that run our food, our water, our air. All of that belongs to us, but now they own it. Go try to stake a claim somewhere where nobody's at and see what happens.
That's right.
You think you're free? Then you go travel around the world and see how far you get without any money. There's nothing free. Not your soul, not your spirit, not your body. We have all pretty much sold out. Really quickly, I know we're up against the break, but the listeners out there, if you've ever seen the movie, and I really kind of cringe a little bit when I hear people say this and compare things to movies, but I watched a movie, Gladiator. Okay, in Gladiator, you see the leaders of Rome talking about the mob, the politicians talking about controlling the mob. We are that today. Rome rose and fell time over and time again, and it will happen to us if we don't use our brains and wake up and realize that what you are doing, when you think you're making choices and you have freedom to make decisions and do what you want, the only choices that you're making are the ones that they're posing to you and allowing you to make.
Yeah, the ones that they are giving to you.
That's right.
And if you think about it, Thomas Jefferson and our founding fathers, if they could see us today,
I don't even like thinking about that.
Can you imagine everything that they made sure with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence? They made that damn thing so ironclad that there would be no way that the man and the government could screw the public. That was the whole intention, man. The whole intention was for the betterment and the freedom of the people, right?
Dude,
we the people.
3% of the colonies, 3% changed the world on the very soil that you and I are standing on right now, or sitting on, I should say.
Right.
That 3% took on the empire and won
a few times.
and to be honest with you,
right.
3% can do it again. And I'm not talking about an uprising where we have a civil war. I'm just talking about people getting proactive with the knowledge that they have when they were unplugged and they woke up like you and I are.
Right. That's all you got to do is recognize. That's all you have to do. If you're fully aware of it, if you're just, this isn't a consciousness thing. This isn't a woo-woo thing. If you just open your eyes and just realize that's 90% of it right there. That's 90%. Let's take a break right here, Race. Racy Hobbs. Better be wearing your faded black shirt. I want a selfie right now. I want you to post your selfie with write on a piece of paper today's date and hold it up to the camera. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Race Hobbs. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Race at Race Hobbs. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRA Radio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Attention CPAP users. Stop the insanity and torture of your CPAP mask. Don't you hate the skin irritation and terrible leaks? Jump on the CPAP Pro train, invented by an actual CPAP user that became so frustrated with CPAP masks. Are you ready to try something new? With absolutely no straps or headgear? Go to nomask.com and get the best night's sleep ever. Free to Medicare patients. Go to nomask.com. That's NOMASK.com.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Work with your doctor when taking medications. Make Protovite part of your healthy lifestyle.
HealthForLiberty.com is your source for Protovite, a powerful nutritional supplement that's a true breakthrough for your health. Poor digestion makes it nearly impossible to absorb the nutrition your body needs. Protovite is a liquid multi-nutrient formula with patent-pending absorption technology and the highest quality ingredients to nourish every cell in your body.
My name is Sandra White. 6 weeks ago, when I started taking Protovite, I was on 14 medications, from everything for blood pressure to fibromyalgia. In the first 10 days, my blood sugar dropped 50 points, and my fibromyalgia pain is gone. And so was 12 of the 14 medications that I was taking. I'm 66, living life and loving it.
Go to healthforliberty.com right now. That's healthforliberty.com.
Thank you, Protovite, for giving my life back.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Race Hobbs. Haven't had Racy on in a while. Feels good. It's like an old pair of shoes. In fact, Race, you are an old pair of shoes, man.
I'll take that.
You're an old pair of shoes, brother.
I will take that, my brother from another mother.
Now, I missed a little more political talk, but I want to get into I want to get into ufology. But the one thing that the media has gotten really good at is allowing politicians to not answer questions. Right? They go into political speak and they never, whatever the important question was, right? The career-ending death question doesn't get answered, right? They dance around it. And here we have Trump, who's supposed to be the anti-politician. He has become the king of not answering questions. And the media is allowing this to happen. They're not holding Hillary or any politician accountable.
Because they're the ones that's left, Jimmy. They're the quote, I'm doing the air quotes, journalists that we have left. Because the ones that did try to do that are squeezed and gone. Now, folks are losing their jobs every day because of these two. I'm telling you, it's a joke. I just can't see how people can just, I don't know. They just follow it like CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and all these, like their hand is on a leash, and the leash is around your neck, and they're just dragging you right along with their tight. If you ever watch a movie and the news is on that, Air Force One, and you see a news outlet talking about, Air Force One was hijacked. Whose little frog is in the corner of the screen?
Right.
CNN.
Right.
It's always CNN. The propaganda and the business of that media system here in the United States, I should say overall, because they're all guilty of it. They're bought and paid for. The corporations have gotten too big to fail, and my great-grandchildren and even his and her children are going to be paying the price for it. Somewhere at some time. Somewhere.
Yeah.
These folks are going to come collect that debt.
It's going to be the next 4 years, no matter what happens. And check this out. You recently, in the last couple of days, you left Facebook. And the one thing that I have noticed on Facebook and also on other social media too, but we'll just talk about Facebook, the polarization that has happened with people that are posting about their political views has never been more violent ever in the history of the United States. I mean, and what they don't understand, that the majority of these posters, is they've never met either of these candidates. They don't know anything about them personally. They only know what the media has been feeding them, and it has been so effective that it's like getting violent on Facebook. I see it all the time. I can't post anymore on Facebook, man. I'm deleting friends that I thought were friends, and I say one thing, and they just don't get it. It's not even their own mind that is causing this division. It's what they have been fed that is causing the division. And with all of the sock puppets and the other fake accounts that are driven by the military that are posting in social media to cause this aggravation and to continue to have this go on. And they don't even know it. And they're fighting with their keyboards with people that they've never met in person, that somebody that's probably not even real. It's a frigging AI bot that is causing these divisions, and it's like 1984 for real. And it's crazy what this has come down to. And when people watch these debates and they listen to what's going on, like you said, being presented with the right or the left with CNN or Fox, NBC doesn't, MSNBC doesn't even know what they're doing. They're lost in the middle. Yeah. And they're being driven by this control mechanism, and they think that it's their own mind at work here, and it's truly not. And it's fascinating to me to watch this play out. This division, this divide and conquer, is exactly what they need to do to move forward. And nobody recognizes that. They think it's their own decision making because they want to argue about Trump, or they want to argue about Hillary, and they want to. They think it's their own mind, and it's not. It's crazy, man. And it's playing out right now in real time.
Where is it? Where is it that candidates for president can take in all this money from all these donors, right? And they can, and then they can do what they want with all this money.
That's right.
Why can't we do what we want and say, you know what, we're not going to vote for this bunch? And get 70%, 80% of the voting public to just not show up. So why don't they make a law where and maybe there is, I don't know, but why couldn't they have it in place where if you didn't receive X amount of votes in total between the two candidates in an election year, that it's null and void. It's invalid.
It's a do-over. Yeah, a do-over.
And they don't get to run in the next batch.
And you just said something. I don't even think you caught yourself how brilliant it was. I want to go back to Jeb Bush for a second. Not that he's a doofus, and we know that, but that dude raised over $100 million in a couple of weeks. And if you remember back at the beginning of the primary season, he had a row of tour buses. Remember that? And he made the, I'm running now, and he had all this money.
This dude comes from money longer than trains.
Right. And so all of this big pile of money into his campaign.
Right.
$150 million in 3 weeks. Crazy. And then he bails. Where's the money? Where'd that money go? He didn't spend it. He wasn't in the election long enough. Where did that money go? So I went and checked, and I did my best to look at what the laws were with campaign funds and what is done with it after. Mm-hmm. You know what? Nothing. They keep it. And they are allowed to move that money around at will. There's no real regulation behind it. There is a guy that is the head of the campaign committee that's writing checks. But where did that $150 million? Why didn't that get donated to building schools? Right? How about into the healthcare system? How about, paying for healthcare for a bunch of single mothers with 3 kids? How about back into the veterans? How about doing that, working on the homeless problem? But the rich get to keep that money after it was donated to them from free Americans?
Is that's fact. That's real deal.
I'm just telling you right now, if you think you know where that $150 million went that Jeb had, or any of those cats, Marco Rubio, any of those, where did it go? And let me explain to you. Before you think it went to Donald Trump and his campaign, right? He said that he was broke and he needed to raise money. He didn't have money in his campaign and he was paying for it himself. And that was, my friend, that was 6 weeks ago. Right? And he raised all of that money in a week. He raised, $25 million in 5 days or whatever it was. But he didn't. Why didn't he just get Jeb Bush's $150 million? And that goes
sore loser, I guess.
And look at Bernie Sanders.
And there's a bunch of them.
I'm not pointing fingers at Republican. Look. I'm not pointing fingers here. It's dirty on both sides of the fence.
Come on, man.
Where'd Bernie's money go?
I want to start a pool right now with all the Fadernauts tonight. You and the Fadernauts. Rita, you're in on this as well. I want to get some tweets going. And I'm not a tweeter, only for your show. I want to see how many people will respond to this on Twitter. What is the big job that Bernie Sanders is going to get if Hillary Clinton is elected? It's coming.
Yeah, he was promised something.
Look, man, that you see on social media, Bernie drank the Kool-Aid.
Right.
No, he, well, I guess you could say that.
Well, all deals are made.
Look, the same thing happened with Hillary Clinton.
Yes, it did with
Barack
she
Obama. Just quit because they told her this is Barack's time. She just quit. But what? Let me ask you, and this, all of the listeners out there, the Fadernauts on Facebook, thank you all for your awesome posts of support. It comes down to this, and plain and simple for me. And I've told you this, Jimmy, I don't feel like I have a choice, but I have to make a decision. I have to support one or the other. And here, being from Arkansas, I just have to say it. We had enough of the Clintons 5 years before they left.
Yeah. A lot of bodies are buried in.
Well, I'm just telling you, man. He was Attorney General for 2 years here before he became governor, and the two of them, pretty much, in my opinion, and that of a lot of people here in Arkansas, They developed their own little banking system and their own little laundering system. And these folks were off into a lot of stuff, and they knew how to do it with a cushion between them. And that's just the way that I feel. It's not conspiracy. It's not propaganda. We are the ones who know the state troopers who drove Bill Clinton to all of his girlfriend's apartments and condos and at a dead-end road or whatever it was. Not hundreds of times, not once or twice. Bill Clinton was caught on videotape going to Jennifer Flowers' apartment, and it was a security camera installed before he ever started going over there at state trooper escort. It was, there's just, the Watergate deal, all of this stuff is real. When Bill Clinton got on stage in front of the American people and said he didn't do what he supposedly had done, when he went before grand juries in Congress, and when he lied to all of them and then got caught, and she stood by him, that's a commendable thing in most circumstances, but you could drop a bomb between them and not break them in two.
Right.
That's just the way it is. We understand that here in Arkansas. We saw, and heard and dealt with and lived with all of this stuff long before America was exposed to it. And I don't think anyone here in Arkansas really thought he was ever going to be president, let alone for 8 years. So there's distrust there already with me in that family and in their decision making and what they do with politics and how they do it. And so with that said, I'm really nervous about some of the things that I see Hillary Clinton saying, because a lot of this I learned from Barack Obama himself. And when that man says she'll say anything to get elected, he meant it, and he knew what he was talking about. And so I think it's important for us, in summation, I think it's important for us to all listen to these folks when they're fighting each other. They'll be having dinner with each other later.
That's right.
Okay. They're all on the same track for the same reason. For me, if I had my choice, it would be neither one of these. But I'm forced to have to support Donald Trump because I just don't trust this woman. Benghazi, the emails, this stuff is Skittles for her. She has been involved with and been a part of some dark stuff, and I just can't get past it. I would love to be alive when America voted their first female president into office. And I just think she's not worthy of representing such a beautiful creature. I really don't.
Right.
And I despise the fact that Donald Trump has said some things about women in a degrading way and really a classless way for someone who is so polished and so high class. He can be, Brooklyn Street ready real quick. I mean, he has that switch, but I deplore it. I think it's never necessary, but I really don't think that there's someone that can hear me right now that has never done the same thing. Well, the people who throw all of this stuff in his face about what he says in this, every one of them have done the same thing, sometimes multiple times over, and some of them it's completely in their character and their personality. It's not just a reaction.
But shouldn't we hold, and you're absolutely right with Hillary. Oh, by the way, somebody posted, Bernie was told that he could live.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
That was the guarantee. I'm totally with you on the Clinton institution. I'm totally with you. But shouldn't we hold a higher standard for the office of president than going for second best, going, well, you know what, Hillary is evil, so what other choice do we have? And then we're talking about the leader of the free world, man. Is that worthy? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think we have a higher standard.
Here's what scares me, Jimmy. It's the office itself now. Is it the same place?
It is not. It is not.
Years ago.
It is not. It is not. There's no doubt about it. And there's one thing, and I've said this publicly enough. Trump thinks that it's a whole nother gig than it is. He's going to go into the Oval Office, and if he is elected, and he's going to arrange his pen holder, his little cup, and his his thing, and he's going to sit there at the desk, and he's going to look around, and that friggin' phone's going to ring, and it's going to be his boss, and he's going to get his pee-pee whacked, and he is going to walk. He's going to smile walking in, and then he's going to walk back out 2 hours later onto the Rose Garden frowning, because he's going to find out that he's not the boss. And it's happened to Obama. It happened to Clinton. It
Where
happened
do you think
to the
all
Bushes.
that gray hair comes from?
In 2 weeks, too. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton.
Every one of them.
Reagan dyed his hair, so we don't know how, it may be gray. But, every one of them, over the course of 4 years, 8 years, get white-headed. I mean, it's sort of Moses going up on Mount Sinai to talk to God.
One of the things...
he's white.
It's true, though. And just in case anybody's memory is clouded here, let me make something perfectly clear. Race talked about this a minute ago. Back in 2008, when Obama was running and Hillary was running at the same time, Obama got pulled away from the press plane, off of the campaign trail, and went to a Bilderberg meeting. Okay? And he walked out of that Bilderberg meeting, and Hillary dropped out of the race on that day. And this is a fact. This is not conjecture. This is not conspiracy theory. That's what happened. She became Secretary of State. That's it. Deals are made. Now, Obama gets inaugurated, goes to the Oval Office, goes to the White House, smiling and waving to the crowd. And he goes into that White House and comes back out 2 hours later, and he looked like he got bitch slapped. He was crying. He was looking at the ground. His first day as president, and he was bewildered. And these are facts. This is reality of the situation. And I'm telling you, at least
not read it, because until you put your hand on that Bible or whatever it is, the Quran, whatever it was for him, and that ceremony is complete, and you take that oath, that's when it happens.
That's exactly it. And the thing is, and this is what's crazy, in a weird way, Hillary knows this. Okay? She knows what I just said is true. Yep. She knows what's coming. Okay? Trump does not.
That's the difference. That's the difference. That's a big part of the decision and the choice that I make to support the candidacy for Donald Trump is because she is so embedded. Now, listen, I've been hard at times on Barack Obama. And I'm telling you, it's because I call myself a 3%er. I'm one of you guys and gals that I'm a patriot. And in that way, what I'm trying to say is when I see these Iranian gunboats, running all over our destroyers and stuff and taunting us, when I see news about Russian planes, flying by our spy planes, or whatever you call them, these observers, whatever they call them, to soften the term, they are spy planes. They're watching our enemies at a rate of 10 feet. These countries are taunting us, and I'm not with that, because we are a superpower. We're held to that title. All of us, me and you, we are the world's greatest superpower right now. And I think we all have to take a deep look inside of us, because when these countries are pushing back but yet they expect us to do all of this stuff for them, it sends a fury through me. So I get real emotional. And when I get emotional, I'm not very smart. I'm just not a smart guy when I think emotionally, because being an assertive personality and one who is willing to listen as well as to talk, it's tough. It makes it really hard. And in a long and drawn out way, I guess I'm just saying here that, these when I would be hard on Barack Obama for not letting us push back. And that's exactly where it comes from. It comes from him all the way down that lets us, be put at risk. When you think about the USS Cole and the dangers that are all around us at all times, and they're on the front lines, there's going to come a time where you're going to have to blow one of them little boats out of the water and send them other guys running back home, because they're just going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it until someone blows another hole in one of our ships. And then where are we going to be? Is the Tomahawk missiles going to fly into Iran? I don't think so. We're embedded with them and deeply. The Iran deal, the money we paid for hostages, we have filled their banks full, and the sanctions are gone, and they're good to go. And I don't have anything against the Iranian people themselves, because I think the majority of them, even though they've been pushed to believe we are pure evil, I've seen camera footage from Iran where, people believe that America is not all of that, and that this evil regime has done this to them and their people. They're very smart, very intelligent people, but their leaders, like ours, are, they're bought and paid for. There's no two ways about it. And the yin and the yang and the push and the pull and the war and the murder and all of this is a systemic issue that has to be dealt with. It's not something that's new. We've been here before, but we shouldn't be here now. With all the technology and the advancements and how much farther we think we're down the road in civilization, when you take a deep look inside of yourself, I think it's going to be real hard to see the value of your legacy down the road looking so promising when, our kids are putting us in the ground and they're picking up where we left off with whatever we've been able to leave them, and they're going to go make their way the rest of the distance. And what are we truly leaving behind?
I'm listening to you, and although I find it difficult to say that I agree or disagree, okay, I can't take a position on that, but I will say this is the line between red and blue is clouded now. Okay,
it's obliterated.
Right, it's clouded, and I don't think that it's a Democratic or Republican regime that is controlling the White House that has caused these problems. Because if we go back and we look at the original Gulf War, and we go back to 1990 and look at what happened there, that was a Republican situation. Then we go through the next phase, that was a Bill Clinton situation. Bill Clinton wasn't afraid to pull the trigger, that's for sure. The HW wasn't afraid to pull the trigger. But I don't agree with anything that has gone on up until now with Bush Jr. and the situations that he had brought us into, and through Barack and through to today. It hasn't been one or the other. It's been a stumbling of this country in general. And I don't think that we do need to. Let me explain something to everybody. With the pirates that were, taking oil tankers and hostages and things, do we need our Navy out there to police the world's waterways? Nobody else is going to do it, right? Okay, so I see that. I see the effectiveness of that. But the one thing that we started to get into was the habit of regime change and trying to control other countries like Libya and Egypt and certainly Syria and Iraq come into play directly. But it has gone on a lot in Central America and South America. And we got into this habit of doing that instead of focusing on what is real and what we need here in the United States. And that's what I think you were trying to say. And that's what I'll agree with totally, 100%. Let's take a break right here, Race. Man, it's getting hot in here. It's hot, Race. It's hot in the bunker right now. My guest, Race Hobbs. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. And I'm not going to let Race get out of here without some UFOs, and we're going to do that next. Stay right there.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of brown rust stains on your toilets, sinks, and clothes? Does your water smell and taste bad? Don't live with these problems anymore. HydroCare's revolutionary well water systems, available at Wave Home Solutions, gives you clean, healthy, great-tasting water from every faucet. They remove iron, hydrogen sulfide, sediment, and many other contaminants that are distasteful and damaging your fixtures. You'll be amazed how fresh and clean well water can be. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Fate or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network at KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Watching the Twitter and all the chat rooms. Yeah, this is Fade to Black. My guest tonight is Race Hobbs. That's right. And Race, you run KGRA. You've got some of the best, if not the best, authors and researchers on the network, and you are able to go and listen every single day, and you talk to everybody, and you get the vibe about what's going on out there in the world of the paranormal and ufology. Where do you think we are today? And I'm going to ask you something a little more direct than that. Where do you think we are today with the trend in sightings? we've gone through so many different phases over the years, over the decades, of different types of craft, different types of contact, and abduction stories too as well. Where do you think we are today with that? What is the trend? What are you seeing?
First of all, I want to say to Maria on the Twitter feed, I agree with you, sweetheart. I'm so sorry you had to endure that rant. You gorgeous creature, you. I'm with you 100%. But yeah, the trend in ufology, Jimmy, I think is in regards to sightings first, sort of show, I think, a lot of drone activity around the nation, around the world, in fact. That's not to say we're not, that folks out there aren't seeing anomalous phenomena. There's no way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the elevation in sightings, the way that I see these sightings and the investigations going, it's trending towards drone activity. There's a lot of drones, from the size of a mosquito all the way to the size of the wingspan of a Boeing 777. Even bigger in some stealth balloon cases. At the end of the day, I think that it occupies a lot of the time of these researchers, and it's sort of in my opinion, I think that it's because they've had this technology for years and years. First of all, let me go back. Before drones were, really popular and everyone started to know about them and hear about them and that sort of thing, we had these things a long time ago. And we saw them come in reports, and, former military people who were involved in investigating UFOs and so forth, they recognized this technology. They knew it. And those are the kind of guys I trained under before I ever began work with MUFON. So, I've kind of understood that, and I see the elevation of sightings going up because these things, they're not so concerned about people seeing them anymore, because I think the technology that's behind it is so much farther advanced that, like I said so many times before, I think maybe on your show before even too, when they roll the stealth bomber out there in Palmdale, when they rolled that thing out of that hangar into the light of day, what they have in their back pocket is way better,
right?
Way more advanced.
No doubt.
They're not going to show you their hand like that without having something up their sleeve. And so I think these drones today, the ones, including the one that Iran got, is old technology. And so I think what we're seeing a lot of at high altitude sightings, these high altitude sightings of super fast, lights and orbs and even wedges, it's sort of an indication that that there's that technology that they have in their, up their sleeve. In regards to abductions, I think abductions are down in comparison to the way they have been in the past. The stories seem to be getting more and more bizarre and more outrageous. The effect that it has on the community, I'm really not a good source for that, for that kind of information, but I would tend to think that it's not the traditional abduction stories that we've heard in the past that are really, driving that part of ufology. It's interesting times, man, but for anybody trying to keep up with this runaway train, it's difficult. It's a difficult task to keep up with everything going on in ufology, from implants to crop circles, abduction, sightings, landings, flybys, all the different things, all the different elements in ufology. You have to just sort of pick one and try to stay with it. And just that alone seems to be, difficult enough.
The bigger cases that we're all familiar with, such as, we can talk about, or I'm going to mention, like Travis Walton or Betty and Barney Hill, certainly Roswell, Rendlesham, you can throw that into the mix, or Malmstrom Air Force Base. These thoroughly researched and documented cases. Those are there. But what I find interesting is when I see something myself personally, and I don't know what it is that I'm looking at, and I've had it, happen to me a few times in my life, just like you have, and I can't resolve it in my own mind about what I am seeing. So it could be so many different situations. Could it be technology that we are not aware of? Certainly, like you said, with the B-1 bomber or the B-2 stealth bomber, that there is no doubt that whatever it is that we are looking at today that we know about, that's 30 years behind what is really being worked on out at Area 51. There's no question about that. No doubt.
Yeah.
But when I see something that is not at Area 51 and I see it, and I don't know if it's us or them, that's when I have to back up and try to figure out what is really going on here. I don't know. But why would the government do a light show for me and my friend standing out in the middle of the desert? What that's confusing to me. So, if now we could go, it's like peeling back that onion. We can go in 5 different directions just off of that statement. Maybe they want to do something to throw us off the scent. Maybe they're trying to mess with our tinfoil hat conspiracy UFO heads.
They've done it before.
Right. Maybe it's that. Maybe it is an alien craft here on Earth, some kind of scout ship that is leaving the atmosphere right in front of them. Maybe it's that.
Yeah.
I don't. Is it government technology that is UFO back engineered that we don't know about, and they're out testing it? If it is an alien craft, why isn't there F-16s right now intercepting this thing? Why aren't they shooting it out of the sky? If it's something foreign, then certainly we should be shooting missiles at it, right? Unless the government knows what's going on. You see what I'm saying? There's all of these different things that come into play. But the one thing I know for sure is I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know. I don't see it in Jane's Defense Weekly, right? I don't see this in any airplane books that I've ever seen, or any aviation websites that I go to all the time. I'm a fan, right? And so I don't know. And I'd like to think, Race, that I know what I'm looking at, and I'm in control of my environment, and I understand this earth where we live. And I see stuff like that, and I just have to take a step back and go, something is going on here that we don't know anything about.
Well, that's the big question. I mean, that's about all we have in our pocket ever since 26, 27 years ago, when I, picked up this hobby to research and investigate this. That's what I had in my pocket then, and that's what I've got in my pocket now. So
now, you want to take some phone calls?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
that was my next suggestion.
Well, they've been lighting up. I've just been ignoring them. But
don't do that.
All right, I'm going to open up the phone lines. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Race, you have had your own sightings, yes?
Yes.
Give me your best sighting.
First one.
And it was what?
The best one is the first one. It was the summer of 1990. And I was on the air at KZ 106.3, rock station here in Fort Smith River Valley. And I got a call. I was doing 7 to midnight, and I got a call. And it was from a guy on his cell phone, one of those brick cell phones we used to have back in the, the late 80s, early 90s. and he had he was on Highway 10, just southwest of us, my location, and he had a UFO over top of his car on the side of the road. And he told me it was like a big submarine, like a big cigar with an arcing bright light on the front of it, and it was just floating over him. And when he told me where he was, I knew I could see from the hilltop we were on. Our studios were sort of on a big plateau in the middle of the river valley down there, and I went out the back of this. I put him on hold, went out the back of the station, and boom, there it was, 10, 15 degrees off the horizon, 30 degrees somewhere in there. It was just it was from where my perspective, if I held my arm out, I would say the light was as big around as a basketball. The light and the aura around it. I could see it lighting the trees up on the ground. It was so bright that I couldn't see what it was attached to, but I watched this thing just traverse across the horizon nice and slow and steady, and I forgot that I was running a radio station. And I've said this so many times, I ran back in the station with dead air. We used to have to toss those CDs in there one after the other and engineer the whole show back then. We didn't have computers to program and run. So when I got back, I picked the phone up and he said, did you see it? Did you see it? I said, I saw it. What did it look like? And he told me again what it looked like from his perspective. And from that moment on, that's when I really got, sort of proactive with the interest, with the hobby, and really turned it up a notch.
Now, looking back, what do you think it was? Do you think it was us, or do you think it was them?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Now,
all I know is the only kind of light I could compare it to is a welder's light. I've been a welder, and that's the only thing I can compare it to. It was bright. It was bright. It had to be some sort of an electrical emission of some kind.
What year was this?
1990.
1990. Now, from what you just said to me a few minutes ago about the drones and current technology and the mistake of making, sightings that we think may be foreign or not of this earth, but actually our current technology and drones, which I get that. But if you go back to your sighting in 1990, that wasn't a drone, right?
I've thought of that, Jimmy, and I just can't imagine what purpose it would have.
Right.
Unless that was some sort of weapon on the front of that thing, a wave motion gun. You remember Star Blazers?
Yeah, wave motion.
Unless it was some sort of a weapon or something, I can't imagine why you would want to focus that much energy in the front of a black cigar-shaped, blimp sort of shaped thing. I remember him being very clear that there was no gondola on it, there was no fairings on it, no wings of any kind, stabilizers of any kind. He said it was just as smooth as a submarine, like a cigar, just smooth and rounded on the end. Wow. He couldn't see what was on the front, but the back, he said, was just kind of rounded off like a hot dog, kind of.
Yeah.
And later, when I was in MUFON, let's see, it was probably 17 years later, I took a report from a guy who worked at a major industry down here in Fort Smith. And, I had to get clearance through management and head of human resources and everything just to get on this place to interview this guy from where he had this sighting of the same exact looking object, but it was in the morning twilight when the sun was rising, and he could see this thing, and it was almost the same description, but without the light.
Wait till I tell you about Rita and I, the sighting that we had in Roswell. I haven't shared this with the world yet. I've been kind of holding off on that. Hi, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Race Hobbs.
Hey, Race Hobbs. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Hey, just a quick comment, and then I want to ask you a question about a show you had a few months ago. The quick comment is, when Wolfman Jack opens up the Hall of Fame, I'm going to induct you and Jimmy as the first inaugural inductees.
Right on.
Why? Why would you ever want to nominate us to the Fat Guy Awards?
Voices in radio, and Wolfman Jack was the original OG.
He is.
You guys are the new school OG, in my opinion.
So
Wolfman Jack.
Yeah,
Wolfman was great.
Yeah, Race and I, the two Fat White Guy Awards.
No.
Hey, if you guys did a duet, I bet you'd sell 1 million copies.
Oh, man.
I'm serious.
I'll be Dean.
Man,
Jim,
Race, can you imagine our combined weight? What is that number? That is what I'm talking. That is big radio. That's what it's called. Big radio.
It's going down. That number would be going down.
Well, mine's going up. See, so we're going to meet in the crossroads, man.
Yeah, we're just going to stay stable at 400.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
450.
Stabilize, man, at 475.
Well, that's awful nice of you to say, brother. I appreciate it. That's a big compliment.
Okay, so what was your question?
You're great. I heard your show, Race, the MUFON Report show, and then I've also heard you with Micah and Richard Dolan, and obviously Jimmy's awesome. So I mean, you two guys are my favorite. But you had a show a few months ago, and I'm going to tickle your memory and hope you could tell the faders this story because it was one of the best shows I've heard. When you had the guy on from Moffett Field who used to transport the pictures that they would take, and you probably remember already, but they were taking pictures. And this one guy, he was incognito on your show telling the story about how he took pictures. And he actually, I think it was him that saw living E.T. in a craft, and they actually had pictures of that. Do you remember that show?
I do. Remember.
Can you please tell the faders that story? I would just, they'd love to hear it, I'm sure.
Well, we had a guest. He was, as you mentioned, anonymous. Wanted to keep his name anonymous, his military pension, and, of course, we can all use our common sense to the risk, in regards to that. So I began to interview this gentleman, and he reached out to some people in the Mutual UFO Network up top, let's say, and then they connected us together, and he made it very clear that he had documents to back up his story and everything that I was going to need, and so I said, take it away, and he sat down, and for 3.5 hours. I listened to this gentleman tell me some of the most astonishing stories of from a military contractor perspective and a military perspective. He was in the Navy, and he was working on a base where they were sub hunters, and these guys were taking pictures of UFOs over the ocean right out of their cockpit windows, clear descriptions of photographs of aliens, because he worked in a room for the I think the commander, and these guys basically were semi-secretaries, if you will. They have their own term, and I can't think of it right offhand, but he worked in in basically a document vault where when these commanders would have to put together portfolios for their bosses, for the admirals and so forth, on information and move it upstairs, he would have to go in and take a sheet of paper, come off a teletype from his commander, and he would go into a vault room that had file cabinets with locks on them, and then you have to open that and then open another lock to get to these big binders with all this information in it. And he would literally pull out a select number based on all the information on the sheet, and he would have to thumb through them to a certain page, pull that page, make a copy of it, and then put it into a portfolio and make this jacket. And he claimed to have literally seen photographs of aliens. He saw documents of engagements, from the base and out at sea. And, you would have to go listen to the story. You can get the archive over at KGRA under the show index. It was a great show. It was a fascinating interview. And as we speak right now, some of his background is still being researched and checked and validated. And as soon as we get the returns on a lot of this detailed stuff, because this guy moved around through the military in and out several times, and he worked for civilian contractors as well. He was a very interesting guest, one of the most interesting I've ever interviewed on the radio.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And you know what? He resonated as being totally sincere and honest, and it reminded me of what William Tompkins has been talking about, and it just all added up.
It does make sense.
Well, let me jump
in a variety of ways.
Let me jump in. Moffett Field, you're talking about up in Monterey.
Mountain View.
Mountain View.
Yeah. Moffett
Silicon Valley, heart of Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Wow.
And he also worked in Silicon Valley, and he talked about these things called blue rooms. You remember that, man?
Yes.
That was very interesting, where he talked about how information is passed, how you're cleared to to be couriers, and how you move this information from one place to another. And he was just a very, very interesting show. And
the guy was in his 50s. It sounded to me, if I remember right, he wasn't an old guy, so he had a lot of guts to come out.
No, he wasn't. Not like you would think. And he still does work, independent work, and that was another big part of him needing to to engage in anonymity. Anonymity. But at the end of the day, yeah, man, I have to say that if what he's saying is true, it just connects a lot of dots for us, doesn't it?
It does. Well, hey, thank you for taking my call. You guys are great, Jimmy. You're awesome. I appreciate it, and I'll get off the phone so somebody else can call.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for the phone call. What I think, this is my take, and I even heard Dolan, I think it was Dolan, mention something like this once too, which is, I think with those documents that he's referring to, there is going to be an accidental dump online. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. There's going to be some kind of crazy document dump that is going to be out of the government's control, and they're going to find it. Anonymous is going to go and do some play at some point, and there's going to be some hacker out there. Not like Gary McKinnon. Gary's a good dude, but he's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a high-level intelligent force that is going to go out, and there's going to be some kind of document dump where these things like your guy is referring to is going to come out and go public. And that could be the big D, the big disclosure that everybody's talking about. Not that, the flying saucer on the White House lawn. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to be something else with modern technology that is going to shock and awe everybody.
Yeah. Well, I have talked with Richard long and hard on this one. And, I have to agree that, these documents were to come out through WikiLeaks. The only problem that I have is the government's ability to disinformation and debunk that kind of stuff with a bunch of fake stuff. Whether it's you've got to validate this information, and how are you going to do that?
Well, part of it would be, and I'll give you an example as we head into this break, and then when we come back, I'll tell you what we saw in Roswell. It was mind blowing. Is this? We have all of those redacted documents that, like, Stanton Friedman has collected over the years. All of these redacted things, but we get the unredacted version. And that's how we start to cross-reference and go, oh, hey, wait a minute. This is the information that was not seen in this document. Those heavily redacted pages that were completely black. And those documents are out there unredacted.
Yeah.
And we get a document dump of that stuff. And we can look at the redacted versus.
I don't even know that any of that stuff exists anymore.
Yeah, well, I think there's a digital representation of everything. I think it's all been locked down.
I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. But I can tell you how the community picks stuff apart. And like you said, the bots and how the government disinformation machine works, it's damn good.
Well, we'll see. And
I would much prefer the White House lawn deal.
That would be cool. The 10 freeway outside of Fort Smith, right? Okay, this is Fade to Black. My guest tonight, the one and only Race Hobbs. When I come back, I'm going to share with you, Rita and I had a sighting in Roswell. What was it? It was pretty dramatic. I'll tell you all about it right after this short break. Follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Race at Race Hobbs. He ain't on Facebook anymore. He's run from that. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back.
Hey, what up, y'all? listen to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go back, Lee Tepe.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at jimmychurchradio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. My guest tonight, Race Hobbs. Race Hobbs. Man, I bet you, Race, you go to Robin and you go, hey, Robin, it's over. It's over.
No. I go to her and I say, baby.
Yeah, it don't work with Rita anymore. She's just like, man, church, that crap don't work. It did like 20 years ago. I go, hey, Rita, what's up? And she'd melt. Yeah,
that got him, though, didn't it, in the early days?
That's how you hook them.
In the early days, it was easy.
That's how you hook them. All right, so check this out. Let me tell you what happened in Roswell. So Rita and I, we rent a car in Albuquerque. We fly into Albuquerque and drive to Roswell.
I talked to you en route.
Yep, en route. And so we come off of whatever it is, the 40, and we get on that Roswell freeway, whatever it is, the 285 or whatever that number is, and we're heading south into Roswell. And we pull in at that junction. There's a city there, a small town, and we find, what's the name of that drive-through restaurant, drive-in, that's all across the country? Sonic, right? So we don't have Sonic here in L.A., right? And I'm like, there's a Sonic. We got to go to Sonic. We got to go to Sonic. She's like, okay, man, Jesus. Okay, let's go to Sonic. So we go to Sonic, and we get a bunch of food, and we get back on the freeway. And as we're on the freeway, Rita spills something, right? I don't know what it is, but we have to pull over. So we pull into this truck stop. And get out, and we're cleaning out the car. It spilled everywhere, whatever it was. I don't want to get into the details, but it was It was syrupy. So we're cleaning up the car, and we're at this truck stop. It's like 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, 11 o'clock. And after we get the car cleaned up, we kind of look, and off in the distance, up in the sky, is this disc. And it's over the freeway, and it's north. You know, we're driving south, so it's back from where we came from, and it's up in the sky. And about every 30 seconds or so, this disc, and it was round, and it was metallic, and it's way up in the sky. It would like flash in this like blue light that would go all the way around it. And it was like electric looking, and it was like evil, just this. Vzz, and I was like, man, what the hell? On our way to Roswell? Wow. You've got to be kidding me, right? And we're watching it. And and this goes on for a few minutes, and it's not really moving a whole lot, or I didn't think. But it was obvious, and it was there. And I said to her, I think it's a blimp. I think that thing going by, maybe it's the lights on the side of the Goodyear blimp. It's like malfunctioning, right? But it's too big, it's too foreign, and it's there, and it's not a plane. It's a disc, and it's there, and it's doing this thing around the bottom of it, this flash blue thing, and now like 5 minutes go by. And we're sitting there watching it and flipping the frig out, right? and then all of a sudden, and I'm not making this up, folks, it lights up. It lights up. And you know what it was? It was a light on the top of a light pole over the freeway.
Really?
Yeah. Now, when it lit up, and I was so relieved. Well, I was disappointed too, right? But the pole, right, was in the black on the freeway. You couldn't see it. And though it was like a 200-foot light, and on this pole, not a 40-foot light pole. This was like this humongous Texas style,
yeah,
right. And then I look up and down the freeway at the truck stop where we were at, and I could see all the other light poles there that were the same height, the same light. But where this was sitting, and when it was black, because it was trying to turn on, and that was the blue flash thing that was going on underneath it, right? And this thing is it's round. So that was the disc thing that we were seeing. And so all of that was a relief, that it was what I thought it was, which was a disc with lights on the bottom of it. But crazy enough, it was in the blackness of the sky, and I couldn't see the light pole that was attaching to it. And the angle that we were at and where we were sitting and looking up at this, I thought it was another mile into the sky. And how deceiving is that? If I would have taken pictures of that, Race, that would have gone worldwide viral in minutes, because it was real and it was trippy and it was there. And when it wasn't doing this blue flash light thing, it would disappear. I couldn't see it. It was, man. I thought that we were having the phenomenal sighting of a lifetime.
Well, since we were in Roswell together this past June, July, I have been in contact with folks there, and there was a big sighting. Half the town saw these lights on the horizon and moving around out in the desert. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, stuff continues to happen out there, man. So at least you had your eyes peeled and you were watching.
Well,
but if I understand where you're coming from when you say you were relieved and then, kind of let down at the same time.
Because look, what we were seeing was real. It was a real object in the sky. It was a disc. It was lighting up. All of that the physical part of it, that it was real, right? This wasn't imagination. This wasn't a dream. We weren't asleep, all of that. So I was relieved that I wasn't hallucinating, that I wasn't imagining things.
And I'm sure that you were relieved that you knew the truth, that you were able to answer the question to the mystery.
Well, I remember it was about a year ago, there was a huge rash of UFO pictures that came out of Houston, Texas. And it turned out that it was light poles. And it was taken during the rain. There was a storm going on. And so the clouds, and I'm telling you, these Texas light poles, man, these things are like they're a mile tall, man. They're Texas big. And so these pictures that were taken in Houston of these, round craft with these lights around the edge that were taken up in the sky behind these clouds because the clouds were coming down over the top of these light poles. Dig what I'm saying? And so the photographs are real. Right? They're real. It's a real object in the cloud ringed with, and then I got all this email, dude, man, it's the light poles in Houston. They're everywhere. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, yep, exactly. Well, that's what we saw over on the freeway on the way to Roswell, these Texas style light poles. The people in Texas right now are listening to this and they're laughing. They're going, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Man, the first time Robin and I were, we had traveled through Amarillo and out through, the panhandle of Oklahoma into Texas, and you see all those red lights on the horizon, and you don't know what they are, and then you drive into them, and you're inside a field of like these massive windmills.
Race. Look at Twitter right now. Look at Twitter. That's what I'm talking about. It's a Texas light pole. Somebody just tweeted that in.
Oh, my God.
That ain't right, is it?
It's a Texas light pole.
That ain't right, is it? That ain't right.
Bless your heart. Y'all, I can only imagine what Rita was doing over there.
Man. And she's so pragmatic, right? She wants to take everything apart and look at it in the, black and white sense. And we were sitting on the side of the freeway, man, and we weren't feeling right. It was an object in the sky that was lighting up. So
and from that perspective, it looked elevated.
You can't see at night. It's so high. You can't see that pole in the darkness. It's not there.
Right.
So, and quit laughing at me. It really happened. Now, this is the other thing about Roswell that I was fascinated with. And until you experience this for yourself, you don't really get it. But we drove there at night, and that freeway that connects Albuquerque to Roswell, while we were driving, before you get to Roswell, that hour-and-a-half drive, there are no lights on the freeway. None. They don't exist. There's no reflectors on the freeway. There's nothing there. And then to your left and to your right, as far as you can see, there's nothing.
Black.
There's nothing. There's no houses. There's no radio towers. There's no lights. There's nothing. It is complete and utter blackness.
Mm.
And so that was fascinating to us, the nothingness of New Mexico, right? So when we left Roswell, coming back, I've never told anybody about this, but when we left Roswell, we left in the middle of the day. And we were excited to be able to do that so we could see what we were missing at night driving in, right?
Right.
And it is an utter and empty, devoid of anything space. There's nothing there, man. A couple of cows once in a while. I don't know where they were going or what they were eating or what they were doing or what they were drinking. But there were no houses. There was no life. There was no cars. There was nothing to the right and to the left of us but just open, flat fields and desert.
There's a lot of scrub brush, cactus, and jackrabbits.
So anything can go on out there, man. Anything.
You can see for so far, though. I'm from the woods. I'm from the mountains here. Well, really, from the valley in between two national forests. And that's the one thing when I moved to Albuquerque back in 2001, 2002. that I noticed right away was how far you can really see. You can see thunder clouds and thunderstorms roll in and roll by you from miles and miles away. And where I live, you're mowing the lawn 1 minute and, put the lawnmower in the shed and come in the house, and 20 minutes later, it's pouring down rain and you never saw it coming. Do
you see who I just brought in? I just brought in Maria.
Hi, Jimmy.
Maria, by the way, Race, who you apologized to earlier, she's calling in from Sweden.
Fantastic.
That's what I'm talking about. Hi, Maria.
Yeah.
Say hi to Race.
Hi, Race. Thanks for the shout out.
Oh, well, thank you for, some really awesome direction from the chat room.
No, she was busting your chops, Race. She was busting your chops.
No, she should have. She should have. I went way too far.
Well, no, this is the thing.
I told Jimmy I was going to come on here and bore all of his listeners to death. I'm not that interesting of a person at all.
No, it had nothing to do with boredom.
But see, what Maria brought up, and what a lot of people do, is they come to this show for the escape of politics. Right. And
exactly.
And I get that. But the one
part of me running from Facebook, as you put it,
right,
is that. I mean, I may come back to Facebook, come Christmas time. Who knows? But
I'm the same way. I'm completely apart from Facebook right now because of it.
But it just shows you right now what is going on here in the United States. Nobody, when Obama was running against Mitt Romney and Clinton was running against Bush and all, we weren't that interested. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was status
it's crazy
quo.
Now.
This is, the United States has never, ever been like this. And talking politics now, it's the quickest way to light a fire. You really want to go there, make a comment on Facebook, make a comment on Twitter, dare I say something on this show.
Oh, it blows up.
It's crazy.
I just hope that, the folks out there, and I know you've got the greatest listeners in the world, and I'm not just bullshitting. I respect your right to support and vote Hillary Clinton or anyone else for that matter. It's, my opinions are mine alone, and that's it. But I have that tolerance. I have that understanding, and I have that belief that everyone has the right to their own opinion. It doesn't have to get that. I've had several people, drop me as a friend on Facebook before that, and I didn't even realize it at first, and probably still many of them. But I woke up this morning to 6 more friend requests on Facebook, and there's a post right there at the top of the page that says, "I'm leaving out. I'm leaving this up for a few more days for my friends and family to put contact information inbox." But and I'm going to have to answer everybody. But I mean, I never say never. I just said that I'm leaving for good, and I'm leaving by that I just mean I'm leaving for good reasons, because it's just not something healthy in my day-to-day life right now, and so
you don't want to see negative as soon as you log into the internet and want to catch up with your family and friends.
Yeah, and I can't even do that. I mean, I came to this crossroads 2 years ago. So what I did was I made a fan page out of that one, a public page, I guess I should say. I don't have fans, but I made a public page out of it, and then was going to go make another one for my family and friends. And I realized that when I made it private, a lot of people couldn't find me, like from my high school days or old, family members and old friends. So I was like, well, I'm just going to make it. And I made it public, and now I'm back to where I was 2 years ago with, 1,300 people on my friends list that I don't know. And I reject probably, 1,500, 2,000 of them a year, because if they don't have, any information or any background, or I don't know if they're real or not. I didn't even know all that existed till some friends told me about it. I just would accept anybody that, wanted to be if I didn't know that there was an issue there. I just figured they were fans from the station, and before you know it, your notifications threads are full with all of this evil garbage. I mean, I saw a video the other day, and I almost don't want to say it. And you know what? I'm not even going to say it. It was just a deplorable video that was posted about animals, and I'm a big animal lover.
Yeah,
and
me too. That's another reason why I have to back off from Facebook.
I wrote on there, why in the hell would you even post something like this? Got into it. with the guy and didn't even know who he was, you know. And the entire rest of the day, I could not get those images out of my mind.
Right.
And when that happens, there's a problem, and it's my problem. It's my issue, because I went to Facebook and it was a wonderful thing at one time in my life, and now it's not. So I have the power to get rid of it, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if it's going to be forever. I don't know if it's going to be for 3 months or a year or what, but I've got to cut it loose, because like I was telling Jimmy, a lot of my daily life is spent online in a virtual world, in a virtual reality with this station that I run. And it takes a lot of online work. And then, you know, keeping up with socials for promoting the station and that kind of thing, emails for keeping in contact with family and friends and customers and people with inquiries to KGRA. I mean, I spend a lot of time, and then I've got, you know, I've taken Twitter, Facebook, and everything off my phone, Skype, all of that is off of my phone now, because I'm just not going to be, Maria, one of these cats walking down the street with that phone in my face all the time. Completely,
and you don't have to be.
Completely disconnected from the natural world that I came from.
Right.
So that's what I want to get back to. But a lot of people have really expressed the same frustration on that thread and can understand where I'm coming from. And I really appreciate their understanding and their support, all of them that have,
right.
My goodness.
Well, Maria, you called in. Do you have a question for Race?
Well, no, I didn't really have a question. I wanted to say thanks for the shout out. And I also wanted to give a little shout out myself to our lovely Rita. I didn't know it was her birthday.
Yep.
So I wanted to say happy birthday, or at least it's her birthday in my world.
Yes, in your world, it's tomorrow.
And she and my son have the exact same birthday. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's trippy.
Yeah, he turns 30 today.
There you go. Thank you so much, Maria. Be safe out there in Sweden, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the show.
Great.
Thank you so Maria. Much. Oh, well, by the way, I'm gonna hook Jimmy up with that witness.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you, Maria. I think that that would be an interesting show. And
no, definitely, it definitely would be.
Now,
this guy's deep, and that road goes a long way. You would definitely do a great interview with him, Jimmy. You're good at what you do, my man.
Well, I would enjoy it. You know, I just like to figure things out, just like everybody else does. That's my gig. You know, I'm just a doofus, man. I just know something's going on, and I'm trying to figure it out. The one thing I wanted to say this, though, really quick about Facebook that I fully recognize, and that is when Facebook first kicked off and I opened up my Facebook account and I connect with all of my friends from, I'm going through trying to figure out the threads of how to get to elementary school and find those friends, and junior high school and high school and my family and cousins and people. And getting that original group together. And when I would say something, it went out to everybody, and it wasn't censored and it wasn't filtered. And I could see everybody else's posts and comments, and it was a real-time interactive thing with everybody all at the same time. And that love of Facebook is what attracted everybody to Facebook. Right, yeah. That's what got everybody in, because it was exactly what they thought it was going to be. And now it has morphed into this filtered, layered, controlled environment that you want to say something to your friends from high school. You can't do it. You want to go and, I'm going to tell you right now, my friends from Warren Central High School in Indianapolis and Balboa High School in Panama, they don't know that I do a radio show, and I post about the radio show it doesn't get to them.
Right. It's a whole different way of operation now.
My parents and my family and my brothers and sisters, they don't see my post about the radio show.
If you're not writing to them and posting on their stuff, you won't see nothing from them.
Ever. No. I'd like to know what's going on with my friend. Nothing. I'm not saying anything against the people that I interact with right now on Facebook.
You know why they do that, dude? You know why they did it? Why they started, sort of censoring what you see, is because people were building businesses and popularity and exposure from personal websites. I mean, from personal Facebook pages that led them back to websites where they did business. It's a squeeze so that if you have 10,000 people on your friend list and you post something, all of them are going to see it. But now it's not that way. So now you are driving people to if they want to use Facebook, they're going to have to pay for advertisement on it. That's exactly why I think they did it. But they screwed it up, you know. They screwed the pooch. I mean, it's always that way, isn't it?
It is.
These good ideas, and then before you know it, somebody's got to change it and screw it the hell right up.
It's interesting to me with our radio page where we reach about, on average, like right now, I can go and look at the stats without paying for anything. We reach about 140 to 150,000 people per day. That's our post reach. And we have 12,000 likes on the radio page. And so effectively on how you do it and how you post on there, it can get out there and do its reach. And I try to, it's not, when I say I, there's other people involved here, but we try to keep, that number up above 100,000. But I can see which stories or which posts take off. And I can see which ones don't. And I'm telling you right now, Facebook, if they don't like or they don't feel that something needs to get out there, they'll clamp it down. And I have, 12,000 people on that page, but yet only 200 or 150 will read a post because it's about a specific subject, right? That's not right. If you have 12,000 people that like the page and you post something on it, it should be able to pop up. If they've come over and liked the page, they should see everything that we post.
That's right.
But no, they want me to pay for it. And I refuse. I absolutely refuse. If Facebook wants to make their advertising on putting ads into the timeline, I get that. That's a business model. But on the flip side, don't choke back on our post. Let them flow freely. But they realized that people were using it for free advertising, like you were saying, and they immediately clamped back. A lot of businesses succeeded because of Facebook, right? Yeah, and then they turn around and they violate and offend the very people that put Facebook where it is today. And that includes the small businesses that maybe have gotten their start on Facebook. They should embrace that instead of slap them around. And it's really
the
true.
Corporate mentality, isn't it, Jimmy?
Well, I'll never do that. I'll never do that. Fade to Black will never, ever change our business model in the way that we built this audience. The show will be free, and I'm going to have commercials. That's the American way.
That's it. Everything we do here at KGRA is free live. It's all free. I mean, we do have memberships that drive support for the station and help keep the lights on. But I promise you, more people are doing more work and not getting paid for it than getting paid for it and doing less work. I promise you. That's just everything you and I have both done from start to this point is grassroots to the core. And that's why it's such a good fit, and it's such an honor to have Jimmy and Rita on KGRA every night of the week, except for Friday. Of course, that's not I think that's a weekend, right?
No, we don't have any days off.
That's the first official day of the week. And to have you and to see you do such a good job on Coast to Coast, Jimmy. That's why I tweeted you the other day. Texted you the other day. I'm just incredibly honored to know you and call you my brother and a colleague and a friend. And you do such a great job, and you have such a great following. Your fans are the best, man. I'm telling you, they are loyal to the core, man, to the core. And for that, I will put every last one of them on my shoulders.
Yeah, man. And we, again, our audience, which was built organically, this is the crazy thing. There are people out there. Hey, Race, I hope you don't have a show coming on in 40 seconds.
No.
Because we're about to run over.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's keep going. Is this, there are, I go to conferences, right? And there are these doofuses out there that like to talk smack and start rumors. And one of the things that will not go away out there, and they don't realize that I hear everything. We've got the Fadernauts, man. Their ears are to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And they will come back and tell me what's going on. And there are these rumors that have been going on that, I'm rich, that I've bought my way into everything, that I've paid my way onto History Channel and Coast to Coast, hold on, that I'm a CIA shill, that the CIA has created me, that I'm not even a real person, by the way, Race. I don't know if you know that, but I don't actually exist, right? The guy that you broke bread with and hang out with, that's a hologram. And there are all of these things out there that what they don't understand is that this show has, from the very, very beginning, been not only self-supported, but the audience itself has come to us. We've never advertised. I've never paid for advertising. I've never, there's no banners out there. There's no print advertising. I don't have stuff on TV. Everything that this show has done, from Twitter and social media and Facebook and other shows, has been because the audience has come to us. That's it. They get what we're doing here, and they understand that we're honest and real and having fun. And the Fadernauts that have come out and hung out with me and Rita at different conferences, and if they're lucky enough to have been invited over to our house and hung out, they realize that I'm not a CIA government agent, that I'm not a dick, that I love my family and friends and country, and that I work really hard on this show every single day, and I have no outside influences. And that's why the audience gets it. That's why it has been built on what it is. It's not a fake situation. It's an organic thing that has grown on its own. And that's why I love every single one of these audience. But they know, the Fadernauts know, that I appreciate every second of every day that they spend with us. Do you know what you do? But a lot of other aspiring show hosts or these other internet networks and these other things that are going on out there, they don't understand why they can't succeed, right? It's not free. Just because you start a website and get a microphone doesn't mean success.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It does not. What we do here, most people don't realize that we are here 3 hours a night, every single night, and have done it now going on for 4 years. And on the sports program, another 5 years before that. And that one we did for 3 hours in the morning every Monday through Friday live. But we do this for 3 hours every single night, day in, day out. And when we are done on Thursday, we're booking guests, prepping art, doing website, doing research for the next 3 days to turn around for 24 hours a day. We never stop. And then turn around and do it again on Monday. And that's if I'm not taping for History, and that's if I'm not overworking at Coast to Coast. And that's how you succeed and grow an audience, is that you're there every single day and you bring good stuff and you're honest about yourself. That's all the audience wants. That's all they want. And if we can give that to them, we're golden. And it all pays off in the end. It's so funny. And you have done the exact same thing with KGRA. And there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that are jealous, and there's a lot of, but they don't understand.
I remember the days, though, when we, the first year or two, we didn't hear one complaint. Everybody that found us loved us, I remember having staff meetings and telling them, enjoy this time because it's not going to last. Eventually, you're going to piss somebody right off, and you're going to piss another one off and another. And, it's out there. But a lot of that comes from a competitive and a business nature. A lot of that is people disgruntled at sort of the biggest way to get back at those haters is just to live well and do well. And when you're genuine and when you're honest, that will come through. And that's that, you and I both are, you take us for what we are, because this is what we are. we have a lot of differences in our opinions on a lot of things, but we agree on the right things. So our experience is the right experience, and when we bring that to, with that combined with our talent, our God-given, blessed to have talent with voice and a moral correctness and a good direction in life, and it all just seems to translate to us bonding with people out there that we may never meet, we may never know, but they share the same sort of, understanding that, a lot of these people, you're right, don't know how much hard work it is for us and what we do, but a lot of them do. And they reach out to us all the time and thank us for what we're doing, because I think those are the ones who have actually sat and thought, what would my day be like without, Fade to Black? What would I have to look forward to when I come home and I unwind and I'm having my glass of wine and I'm ready to bring Jimmy on and I'm ready to hang out with the Fadernauts and do my thing? What would it be like if Jimmy was gone, if KGRA was gone? Those are the folks we hear from. And those are the folks that, really want to reach out and show their appreciation. And that is what fuels us. You and I have talked about this.
Yes.
It's a big part of why you and I are really the only ones who go out and we expose ourselves to the public. And for those that want to see us, meet us, engage with us, talk with us, ask us questions, let me buy them a beer, they buy me one, and break bread. That is the true reward for me personally, because I'm just a producer. I host MUFON Radio. I've been involved with MUFON for several years. But the real reason that we do this is the search for the truth. And when we get to see those people face to face and we get to be real with them in person, that's where the magic happens. Networking on Facebook and Twitter and all of this stuff is great. And it's a great way to kind of help them feel like they know us better. And that is a tragedy for me leaving Facebook, because I know a lot of people, they hear my voice and they hear your voice and they feel like they know us. And when we get the chance, Jimmy, to go get to know them, that's for me, that's the real magic in all of this, because we're all searching for the same thing. And we're all reaching and working really hard every day. Rita, I can't imagine. I just don't know how she does it. I mean, you do a lot of work and she's behind the scenes doing just as much or more. And I know what it takes to put these shows together, Jimmy. I know what it takes. And I will go on the record right now and vouch for you as you are what the Fadernauts think you are. You're that, and when they get the opportunity to have one of these conferences, you do a lot of stuff in a lot of cities. And if they haven't got the chance yet, they will. And they'll reflect back on what I'm saying right now. Jimmy Church is exactly how you think Jimmy Church is. He's real. And the way he comes across, that's the way he is. And he doesn't half-ass anything. When I was in L.A., he treated Robin and I like we were royalty. And I will never forget it. And it was an absolute pleasure to get to come hang out with you in your backyard, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for that. And you're exactly right. And the point that you've made, and with their about the audience getting to know us, because they do get to know us, and the way that they get to know us is because they know that they can come home at night and I will be here at 7 p.m. Pacific, and they can sit down and, like the sun comes up in the morning, Rita and I are going to be here Monday through Thursday, right? And that commitment coming back to us, I recognize for somebody to spend 3 hours every night with us and give us that investment of their time, that's precious. And I recognize every single day about how blessed we are with that. And I really mean that. Rita
dedication is what leads to success.
Rita just came in the studio, right? She's like, "Man, you guys are still on the air." So, yeah. So, anyway,
give her a hug and a kiss for me.
I will. And so, and I want to leave with this. There are so many negative sides of the fences out there in ufology and the paranormal. And it's for some reason, it's gotten a little bit dirty and a little bit competitive when it doesn't need to be that way. It just doesn't. And it's also out there with the fans of these shows. It doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be negative. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a fan of Fade to Black, it's because you know that I'm not that negative guy. And I never will be. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to get into the smack talk. I'm not going to get, and I never will. And that's the same thing with KGRA. And people know that that's exactly it. They're jealous because we are who we say we are. And they can't get over the fact that we're actually cool. Right? It bugs them, man. It bugs them.
They're mad because they don't have a Fade to Black pin like I have.
Man. and if they just come to the light, man, come to the light, it'll be okay. All right.
That's right. And I really hope that I didn't, I hate to come across negative. I really, I want everyone out there to know. I'm going to take a second here, Jimmy, if you'll give me. Just to let everybody know that, even in the darkest times, humanity has made it through. Faith in things that are better brought us out of the dark ages. And, no matter how bad things seem, always embrace the good things. Never forget to the appreciation for small things. I mean, just understand that no matter what, especially in this political season, for everyone listening in America who is going to be, I guess the entire world will be infected because, we are that superpower I mentioned. But I just want everyone to stay positive and stay tolerant and respect one another.
Well, hopefully, hopefully, and this is usually how things play out. Things are not as bad as they seem, and things are never what they seem. So hopefully, no matter who gets elected, 4 years from now, we can look back and go, you know what?
We did a lot of worrying for no damn reason.
Yeah, Trump wasn't that bad, or Hillary wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
we got through this.
I mean, the same thing for me and Barack Obama. Like I said earlier, I never finished. I went on that tangent. I've been hard on him at times, but he's done a great job. And being from the South, I'm just going to tell you, you kind of see and people express, and I mean, this is not just limited to the South. So I should take that back. A lot of people have held him to, a much higher standard. I'm telling you right now, because he's black. And he's done a better job than probably more than half of the white presidents we've had. And just because George Bush screwed the pooch so bad that this guy walked into a busted machine, I think he tried to do the best he could do with the best that he had. And I just have to congratulate him as our chief, or he is our commander in chief, and thank him for the 8 years of service he gave in one of the most difficult jobs on the planet.
Yeah, he got a bucket full of crap when he came in. There's no doubt about it. You know what? Let me tell you how cool the Fadernauts are. Today, over at the house, I've got to give a shout out to Deborah. Deborah sent me a half a case of sausage gravy. I got me a half a case of sausage gravy.
That is mother's loving,
man. Right there. How do you got to love the Fadernauts. Thank you, Deborah, for that, and thank you, Race. And with that, just stay right there. I'll just do the close right here and get this out. And thanks for running late, man. It's just good. And look, I don't want to bore everybody with the details behind the scenes and what really goes on here, but Race and I definitely thank all of you. We do respect every one of the audience, and we're completely humbled by it. And it's only going to get bigger. But Race, thank you for all that you do, and thank Robin and everybody else over at KGRA. Fade to Black's.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication, KGRA, The Planet. Thank you, Race Hobbs, and thank you to, we had a couple of calls tonight. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.